Energy prices in the United States are climbing at more than twice the pace of inflation as the impacts of Trump administration policies begin to take hold. Over the past 12 months, the Consumer Price Index rose by 2.7%, yet energy bills jumped by more than 5.5%. Nearly 60 utility companies are preparing to raise rates in 2025, adding an estimated $38 billion in electricity costs and another $3.5 billion for natural gas users. Demand for power is surging faster than at any point in decades, driven by the rapid growth of data centers, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and the broader electrification of daily life. At the same time, America's aging grid is under mounting pressure. This comes as President Donald Trump pushes for manufacturing to return to U.S. soil, a vision built on the promise of cheap and reliable energy. But the foundation of that vision is showing cracks. Recently, Trump held a call with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, described by Ottawa as a wide-ranging discussion on trade and economic priorities. The timing raises questions. If energy is the missing piece of Trump's plan, is Canada the key partner he needs? Trump's second-term economic strategy is centered on tariffs. This month, he announced a 100% tariff on imported semiconductors, with exemptions only for companies that commit to manufacturing in the United States. Tariffs on steel and aluminum remain at 50%, and imports of transformers and other grid equipment are also caught in the trade net. While the administration aims to tilt the playing field toward domestic production, these tariffs are raising the costs of the very infrastructure required to power that vision. Coal plants are being kept online longer, and new gas projects have been revived. But construction takes years, costs have tripled, and coal remains more expensive than natural gas or renewables. Regulators warn that extending the life of coal will only add costs that utilities pass on to customers. The paradox is clear. Tariffs may help bring factories back, but they also risk. Meanwhile, Canada is positioning itself as the region's energy superpower. Prime Minister Carney has laid out a plan to expand Canada's role in supplying critical minerals and clean energy. British Columbia alone hosts 16 types of critical minerals essential for solar panels, EVs, and semiconductors. Ottawa is funding infrastructure to connect resources from mines to markets, aiming to become the supplier of choice outside China and Russia. Canada is also scaling up solar, wind, hydrogen, and nuclear energy, while investing to make its conventional oil and gas the lowest emission in the world. Already, Canada provides over 4 million barrels of oil per day, more than 8 billion cubic feet of natural gas daily, and more than 80% of U.S. electricity imports. It also supplies a quarter of the uranium that fuels America's nuclear plants. In short, Canada holds much of what the U.S. needs to sustain its growth. The Trump-Carney call may not have revealed details, but the subtext is clear. As America wrestles with surging demand and rising costs, Canada stands out as the only reliable partner with the scale to fill the gap. Energy is not the only area where tariffs are reshaping markets. Trump has also imposed a 50% tariff on Brazilian beef, the United States' largest foreign supplier. Before the tariff, Brazil provided more than one-fifth of America's beef imports, filling supply gaps as U.S. herd sizes hit their lowest levels since 1961. In the first half of 2025 alone, the U.S. imported 181,000 tons of Brazilian beef, valued at nearly $1 billion. Since the tariff, that flow has slowed dramatically. Imports collapsed by 80% between April and July, sending beef prices soaring. Ground beef averaged $13.49 per kilogram in June, the highest ever recorded, up nearly 12% in just a year. What once cost $4.99 a pound now rings closer to $7.99. The World Trade Organization has already received a complaint from Brazil, but the damage is done. Without Brazilian supply, the U.S. is short roughly 400,000 tons of beef annually, about 5% of consumption. That gap has driven wholesale beef prices up 21% since January, with consumers facing retail price hikes of up to 12%. Meanwhile, Canada has reopened its market to Brazilian beef, with imports rising more than 40% this year. Brazil is also reviving trade talks with Ottawa, potentially deepening the partnership. For U.S. consumers, the result is higher grocery bills. For Canada, it is an opportunity to strengthen its role as a stable trading partner. Another flashpoint is dairy. In August, Trump raised tariffs on Canadian non-USMCA goods from 25% to 35%. While dairy itself was not directly targeted, Canada's supply management system has long been a sticking point. Imports from the US are capped at 3.5% of the Canadian market, with tariffs soaring to nearly 300% if that threshold is exceeded. For decades, the system has shielded Canadian farmers from competition with massive US operations, ensuring stable prices and protecting thousands of family-run farms. Parliament recently passed legislation that prevents future governments from using supply management as a bargaining chip in trade talks. Any change would require repealing the law, a politically costly move. To Trump, the restrictions are the very definition of a trade barrier. To Canada, they are a matter of economic survival. Farmers across the country see the system as essential, and political leaders remain united in defending it. While Washington escalates tariffs, Ottawa holds leverage of its own. The US relies heavily on Canadian energy, minerals, and integrated auto supply chains. Canada has made clear it is willing to walk away from a deal rather than dismantle its dairy protections. The result is a standoff. Trump's hardline trade tactics raise costs for US consumers and strain relations, while Canada quietly strengthens its position as a reliable, resource-rich partner. This is True Estate Report. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.